Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
Hey book nerds, welcome to my channel. It is October, yeah! This is my October Halloween themed Snakes and Ladders TBR video. If you don't know what a TBR video is, or Snakes and Ladders TBR video, then I will link it down below, the explanation video. Basically, I play a game of Snakes and Ladders and it decides what my TBR is going to be each month. Normally, I only do about 5 or 6 prompts, and I haven't really been changing up the prompts a whole lot, which I think I'm going to start doing more. But because this is October, and it is Halloween, and it is my favourite time of the year. I love Christmas, Halloween is spooky, and I get to read horror books, so it's a toss-up, but Halloween's awesome. I'm doing a special spooky themed Halloween video. So this is my little adapted Snakes and Ladders board. I wanted to do a whole new board, but it turns out cutting cardboard of this size is really hard. I actually got this from originally inside a calendar. So I couldn't order the cardboard, so I just had to do these sticky notes, and I didn't even have orange sticky notes, which made me really sad. But I changed up a bunch of the prompts so they're all spooky themed, and I'm going to be doing a whopping 13 prompts this month, which is maybe a little ambitious. I'm not allowed overlap, in case you don't know, so that means 13 separate books have to fill these 13 prompts. But it was Halloween, and I wanted to get as many spooky prompts as I could. So the prompts I have added are ghosts, point horror books, ta-da, new author, so that's an author I've not read before, classic monster, best rated, orange or black cover, TV or film adaptation, so that is one that has been adapted to a TV or film, or something that is based off a TV and film product. A woman on the cover, haunted house, Kindle Unlimited, the Red Eye book series, which if you watch my birthday haul you know I hauled very recently, serial killer, theme park, which is one of my favourite horror tropes, supernatural, worst rated, red or purple cover, goosebumps, tree on the cover, friend pick, so if this comes up I'm going to ask one of my friends to just pick one off my Goodreads TBR, and I'm going to ask one of my non-reading friends to make it more interesting. Big name author, so probably Stephen King, maybe James Herbert, maybe Joe Hill. Techno horror slash thriller, so something to do with technology. And finally rep. So those are the spooky prompts. Let's see what I get. One last important thing, because I'm changing up from normal, because I want to get as many of these unique prompts as possible, if I land on a prompt that has already come up once before, so if like I go down a snake and I pass over a prompt again, I'm not going to repeat that prompt. Normally I would, but I'm not for this special spooky edition. Yeah, but we finished last month at the top of that square, which was the queer square, and now has morphed into the representation square. And let's see what our first throw is. 1! That's very exciting. So the first prompt is not a new one, but it is 2019 release. The first prompt sadly isn't a new one, but it's still a good one, and that is 2019 release. For this, I'm very happy because there are lots of 2019 releases I've been really excited to read. The one I've gone with is #MurderFunding by Gretchen McNeil. This is a sequel to #MurderTrending, which I read last August. And these are young adult horror books with a really insane premise. So the first one is about there's a prison that has been turned into a reality TV show, and regardless of your crime, no, it doesn't matter if you're a murderer, it doesn't matter what level you're at, you will end up on this island and you just kind of live your life there being followed around with cameras, and then one day one of the 7 hired serial killers will just try and kill you and will probably succeed, and your death will be streamed to millions. So that's the premise of the first book. The second one is about someone who is meant to be the daughter of one of the original serial killers from the island. All the serial killers had like crazy themes, and I think she's also on a different reality TV show when she finds this out, and then it's about her trying to work out what was going on with her mother. I loved #MurderTrending far more than I thought I would, and I could not be more excited to read the sequel. three. 1, 2, 3. Ghosts. I landed on the Ghost Square, and I've decided to go with A Banquet for Hungry Ghosts by Ying Chang Kompenstein. Definitely pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry. This is a Kindle Unlimited book, and it is an anthology about Japanese themed horror stories. I think this came onto my radar. I want to say Alex from Hey Little Thrifter was talking about it. I could be wrong. Definitely one horror booktuber was talking about it. I thought it sounded really interesting. Quite into Japanese mythology, but I don't know a whole lot about it, so I'm hoping this might expand my horizons a little bit, and it's an anthology which is perfect for October. Another 3. 1, 2, 3. Classic monster. The next prompt is classic monster. I combed my TBR for this, and I struggled a little bit, so this might be counted as a cheat. But I've picked A Nightmare Carnival, which is an anthology edited by Ellen Datlow. She's done a whole bunch of anthologies, not all horror themed, some are more fantasy based. This is a horror one. And as you might expect, these are all about creepy carnivals, creepy clowns, one of my favourite tropes. Not the creepy clown, I hate clowns, but the whole creepy carnival thing. I think a clown can be considered a classic horror monster now. It's not quite one of the oldies, but obviously it is the season of It and all things Pennywise. So I've picked this one mainly because I did really want to read it, and I think I don't actually have that many books about classic horror monsters. 1. Ooh, best rating. So the next prompt is best rated. So the way I did this is I went on my Goodreads account, sorted all my TBR books by their average rating, and I discredited any that had under 1,000 ratings because I felt like that was a good solid number for Goodreads to kind of have the best rated that's not some obscure book. And then I just looked for the highest rated horror or thriller, and I got a thriller, and I got A Dark House by Helen Pfeiffer. This is about an asylum that was shut down years ago, and there was meant to be standard horrific asylum stuff going on there. And then a man is found in the abandoned asylum, murdered, strapped to one of those steel gurney things, and he was a doctor who used to work at the asylum. And I think more people who worked at the asylum keep getting murdered, and the detective is trying to find out what happened to them and what, more importantly, what happened to the asylum years ago. So this is very spooky, autumnal themed, perfect, and hopefully it'll be as good as people say it is. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Woman on the cover. The next prompt was woman on the cover. This was actually a really hard choice because many of my horror books have women on the cover. But I decided to go with one that I'm quite hyped for, and that is The Last Final Girl by Stephen Graham Jones. This is another Kindle Unlimited book. I've read some short stories by this author, and I've been a bit hit and miss, but this just sounds absolutely perfectly Halloween. So this is about a typical small town from every horror movie ever, and this girl Lindsay, she's the homecoming queen. She's just escaped a serial killer in a Michael Jackson mask called Billie Jean, and she's very much the final girl, but she picks a group of other final girls to be her new homecoming court, which I think is an American thing. So basically she teams up with a bunch of other final girls, and there's a battle to be the last final girl when the killer returns. This sounds incredibly meta, which I love in my horror. It sounds like a very much stereotypical slasher movie concept twisted on its head in a new, hopefully inventive way. And I think it sounds so cool, so I cannot wait, and I'm really hoping it won't let me down. 2. 1, 2. Kindle Unlimited. The next prompt is Kindle Unlimited. Now I've already had 2 Kindle Unlimited books so far, but I've decided to go with Under the Blade by Matt Serafini. This has got an absolutely gorgeous cover. I think that's really striking. This is about a woman who survived a camp killing years ago, but she's forced to return to the camp when she runs out of money, and she's got to write a book about the murderer's life. So she basically goes back to this camp for publicity reasons. It sounds kind of like The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager, but it's slightly different. But when she returns to the camp, she finds out there's a lot of secrets, and that something was happening with the killer and her horrific incident that she might not know about. So yeah, again, very stereotypical horror premise. Again, that's exactly what I want in my October, and I really hope this is a good one. 3, 1, 2, 3 on a snake there, which is currently covered by the post-it notes, but it does lead down to point horror. The next prompt is point horror, which makes my t-shirt perfectly themed. I'm doing a point horror reading project this month, which I think I have talked about, so it's not entirely secret, but I'm going to do like a massive reading vlog thing, my first ever vlog. So, I know which one I definitely want to read, but the problem is it's buried in this pile, or this pile, or the piles behind those piles. So I'm just going to talk about the one I want to read. I'm not going to hold it up, I'm sorry, I will dig it out for the actual vlog, obviously, to read it, but it is Beach House by R.L. Stine. And this is about 4 teenagers and another 4 teenagers, and someone is killing these 4 teenagers in the past, and someone is killing a different 4 teenagers in the present, and there's creepy things going on, and there is a beach house. And I love it. It's insane. I don't really want to spoil it just yet. It is one I've read before. For the vlog, I'm going to pick mostly ones I haven't read because I think it'll be more fun, but I'd really, really want to reread Beach House, so I'm definitely going to pick that one. So that's going to be my safe Snakes and Ladders pick. Another 3. 1, 2, 3. Best rating again. 2. 1, 2. 2018 release. So the next prompt is another old one, and that's 2018 release, but I do have the perfect book for this, and that is Scream All Night by Derek Millman. This sounds amazing, and I've been saving it for October. So this is about a old horror movie studios called Moldavia Studios, and it was shut down years ago, and the director of all these at the studios, they made these cult horror films, so B-movie horror films, and they made loads of them, and the director is our main character's father. So our main character is Dario, and I believe he starred in some of his father's films, but he illegally emancipated himself from his father years ago, and he wanted nothing to do with these studios. But he decides to return to the studios because there's a reunion party to celebrate the anniversary of his father's first ever film, and one of his old co-stars is going, and he wants to kind of reconnect with her. But when he returns to the studio, horrific things start happening, and it just sounds, again, everything I want from my horror books. It's got the whole meta aspect with the horror movies, it's got homages to old B-movies, and yeah, this sounds amazing. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another repeat. 2, 1, 2. Red Eye. So I landed on a Red Eye, which is the Red Eye book series, which is a young adult horror book series. I hauled them in my birthday haul video, and there is really no competition to what the first one I'm going to read is, and that is Frozen Charlotte by Alex Bell. I've read this before, maybe 2 years ago now, maybe longer, and I vaguely remember what it's about. It's about a creepy house that used to be a school for girls, and there are these dolls in the house called Frozen Charlotte, and they're really just very, very disturbing dolls. And our main character has gone to stay with her cousins, and her cousins are all slightly weird. There's one who's afraid of bones. I think one of the cousins is obsessed with the dolls. It's all I really remember, apart from that it's really, really scary. It's really atmospheric. It's creepy, and I'm gonna love it. 2, 1, 2. Serial killer. The next prompt is serial killer. I'm already reading about a fair few of those, but this does give me an excuse to reread Final Girls by Riley Sager. Again, it was about almost 2 years ago I read this, and this is about a woman who was part of a trio, I believe, of women who became known as the Final Girls. So the Final Girl trope, as I probably already said with the last Final Girls, or rather I should have said, is the idea that one woman will survive a horror film and she's like virginal and pure and the survivor of the tragedy that you meant to root for as the audience. So these 3 women got dubbed Final Girls by the press. They all survived their own horrific massacres. It wasn't the same massacre, they all had their own individual incidents. And then one of them dies under mysterious circumstances in the present, and it becomes apparent that someone might be hunting these final girls, and that's all I really want to say. I remember this one pretty well, so I don't want to say any more in case I'm going to spoil things that aren't given away by the blurb. I really, really want to reread this. It's been a while, like I said, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm intrigued to see if my rating will go up with the reread, because I think I originally gave it like 3.5 stars. It feels like it should be a higher read, but yeah, very excited for this. 2, 1, 2, anthology. So I landed on anthology. Again, I'm already reading several anthologies this month, but once again I'm going to pick a reread. That's 3 rereads in a row, sorry. I don't control the board. But I'm going to pick Slasher Girls and Monster Boys, which was edited by April Genevieve Tcholke. I say that wrong every time, I really need to look at how to say that. This is an anthology I read last October. It is my 5-star anthology. I gave it 5 stars. It's fantastic. It's just horror stories, mostly focused on girls, maybe entirely focused on girls. It's not particularly feminist in its theming, but it does focus on female characters. It's a lot of standard horror tropes in here, but with unique twists. I just remember loving lots of the stories, and I really, really hoped I would get the chance to reread it this October, so I'm very glad the board has given me that opportunity. 2, 1, 2, physical book. The next prompt was physical book, and I have decided to read The May Queen Murders by Sarah Jude. This was very kindly given to me by Nicole from Beautiful Chaos of Books for my birthday. I was hoping to read it in October. Once again, the board has been nice to me. This is about Ivy, and Ivy lives in this very stereotypical small town. They have very traditional beliefs and a very particular way of thinking. She's best friends with her cousin Heather, but Heather goes missing shortly after the May Queen celebrations. I think Heather is the May Queen, she just goes missing. And Ivy tries to find out what's happened to her and realises that both Heather and the town have many, many secrets. This sounds so good. It's been on my TBR for ages. Again, perfect autumn read, really well themed for Halloween, and hopefully it'll be amazing. 3, 1, 2, 3, worst rated. And the final prompt is worst rated, which it's kind of nice to get as a contrast to best rated, but also I'm sad we didn't get through all the spooky prompts. I really would have liked that. My worst rated book, again, I did the exact same process as I did for best rated, but obviously the reverse. And the worst rated was a horror book, and it was Bad Bones by Graham Marks. This is a Red Eye book as well. There's a lot of crossover between these prompts. This is about a boy named Gabe, and his family have money troubles. One day he finds a shallow grave with some gold in it, so he decides to take the gold even though it's being held by a skeleton. And obviously robbing graves is a bad idea and creepy stuff's gonna happen. So yeah, this is the worst rated, which means I don't want to get my hopes up for it, but I'm still quite excited to read it because it's a Red Eye book, it's one of my new ones, and I do want to read all of them. So maybe I'll like it more than other people. Yes, so that is all 13 of my Snakes and Ladders prompts. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed it. Obviously I love, like I said, I love October. It's been great fun picking Halloween books to read. I'm hoping for a really good reading month. Yeah, let me know if you have any suggestions. I'm going to do the same thing for my Christmas Snakes and Ladders board. So that'll be all Christmas themed prompts. And then I think for 2019 I'm actually gonna 2020 I'm gonna mix it up a little bit, and I might do a kind of card colour system, so the spaces are colours and I have to draw a card depending on the colour. I want to do some way of switching out the prompts more easily. So if you have any ideas for that as well, that'd be great. I'm still going to be doing the Snakes and Ladders TBR. I found it really helpful for me, and I also really just like enjoy doing it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. It helps me out massively, and I hope to see you next time.